Hey, so it's Jack. The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian is a book that is about an Indian on a reservation close to Wellpinit, Washington, which is there. The particular Indian in question is a 14-year-old boy called Junior. It is told in a kind of diary style and begins at the start of the school year through all of the major holidays and up until summer break. It dictates his written record of his life and the drawings he makes, which are sometimes funny and other times more seriously illustrating important people in his life. One of the themes that plays a big role in the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian is race. It gives Junior some difficulty when it comes to what he feels like inside. Once he goes to the white school of Rear Dawn, he is two halves. On the Indian reservation, he is Junior, but at the white high school of Rear Dawn, he is Arnold. This suggests that someone's ethnic identity can change depending on the environment and social setting. One of the quotes I found in this book was one about poverty. Poverty doesn't give you strength or teach you lessons about perseverance. No, poverty only teaches you how to be poor. Junior is arguing that being in unfavorable circumstances like poverty doesn't really teach you anything good. It suggests that the only education you will get from being poor is how to keep on being poor. Another quote that I found is to do with Junior's grandmother's death. People had either ignored me or called me names or pushed me, but they stopped after my grandmother died. I guess they realized that I was in enough pain already, or maybe they realized that they had been cruel jerks. I wasn't suddenly popular, of course, but I wasn't a villain anymore. No matter what else happened between my tribe and me, I would always love them for giving me peace on the day of my grandmother's funeral. Although the passing of Junior's grandmother is hard for him to accept, the Indian community is brought together because of it, and Arnold wasn't harassed anymore, as the reservation allows him to mourn in peace. Arnold Spirit Jr., aka Junior, is the narrator of this novel. He takes us along his adventure as he moves from his high school on the reservation in Wellpinit, Washington, to a primarily white high school 22 miles away in Rear Dawn. Arnold is an artist and does many quirky cartoons, some more serious than others. Another interesting fact about Arnold is the fact that he was born with water on the brain. This is when you are born with too much cerebral fluid, and that means that he is at a risk of brain damage and is susceptible to seizures. Another important character in this book is Grandmother Spirit, or Arnold's grandmother. Grandmother Spirit is powwow famous, and her greatest gift is tolerance. After she got hit by a drunk driver, she asked that the person who hit her be forgiven. Her death prompts Arnold to become more invested in his time at Rear Dawn. There are two additional characters that influence Arnold's life greatly. They are his parents. His parents listened to Arnold's dreams and helped him follow through with them. His parents could have also once followed their dreams, but their parents didn't listen. They don't want that for Arnold, so they help him and encourage him to try his best and make his dreams come true. Arnold is basically a reservation outcast. He lives in poverty on a Spokane Indian reservation, his parents are alcoholics, and he is also a hydrocephalic, which means he was born with water on the brain and has seizures every once in a while. This makes him the weirdo on the reservation, and he is regularly beaten up and picked on by almost everyone. One day in class, he finds his mother's name in a textbook and is furious that his school is so poor that they have books from 30 years ago. He then proceeds to throw the book at the teacher because why not? Later, he gets a visit from this teacher and he encourages Arnold to leave Wellpinit High School and find a better education somewhere else. Arnold decides that in order to do that, he must transfer to Rear Dawn, a privileged white school 22 miles away. His parents agree to let him do it, but not everyone else reacts so kindly. At Rear Dawn, he has a hard time fitting in, even though he attempts to try to win the affection of a girl named Penelope and befriends a guy named Gordy. As well as that, he punches the school jock Roger in the face and gets his respect. The separation between Rear Dawn and the reservation makes Arnold feel like he is only Indian there, and at Rear Dawn he is not. Kinda like a part-time Indian, because that's what the book is about. At Rear Dawn, he joins the basketball team and they occasionally have to play whelp in it, and that causes quite some problems. And at one point, Arnold was hit in the head with a quarter when he was about to play basketball because somebody from Whelpinit was angry that he had switched schools. Two major things affect Arnold's life in this book. His grandmother and his sister die. Both of their deaths were because of drinking. His grandmother was struck by a drunk driver, and his sister's camper van caught on fire when they had a party and they got drunk. These two deaths impact Arnold's life greatly because they make him think about his life more, and his grandmother's death makes him more invested in his time at Rear Dawn. It also helps him because after his grandmother's death, a lot of the people at the reservation stopped bullying him to let him mourn in peace. One of my questions is, what would have happened if Arnold wouldn't have gotten his mother's book? I think if he hadn't have gotten his mother's book, he would never have thrown the book at his teacher, and his teacher would not have encouraged him to find a better education. Also, if he didn't get his mother's book, he wouldn't have been encouraged to go to Rear Dawn, and his sister would not have died because her main reason for leaving was because she got encouraged by Junior leaving. And if he hadn't have left, he wouldn't have been bullied by other people at Whelpinit. Many things would not have happened if Mr. P had not given Junior that one book. It is weird to think that one small thing like a book can make such a big difference in your life and impact you forever. It is strange to think that just making one unique or different decision could alter your life forever. The same thing kind of happened to me as it happened to Arnold, like with switching schools and stuff. Because when I was in elementary school, I didn't really like the school, so I decided to go to a different one, and I went back to visit my old elementary school, and like a bunch of my old friends weren't really friends with me anymore. I didn't really get bullied, but they just weren't friends. And yeah, it wasn't such as an extreme case as Arnold's, but I guess it's kind of related. Some of the important vocabulary words I found I had heard before but never really looked them up. Some examples could be hydrocephalic, which is when you have too much cerebral fluid, retroactive, when you take effect from a past date, and tautology, saying the same thing twice but in different words. Other words I found that weren't in my vocabulary were anthropologist, endeavor, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Some Indian names also make an appearance in this book, like Oglala, Tonto, Squaw, and Sioux. One of the main takeaways I got from this book, and it was basically the moral of the story, is that you don't have to be accepted by others to accept yourself. Because, who cares what other people think? I don't need them. As long as I have Pokemon Go and video games, I'm as happy as a hamster in a hay bale. Theoretically, if that's what hamsters actually did, but that's not the point. It also conveys that you don't have to stick to one kind of you. You can be Indian and white and a basketball player, and you don't care what people think because that is who you are. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that this is the best YouTube video that ever existed because I don't care what people think. But yeah, thanks for giving me part of your divided attention or whatever's left over.